Well, hello, and welcome to the PJH Writing Command Center for this special Memorial Day holiday podcast from God Bless the Keg Publishing LLC. And I am John Hausleben of God Bless the Keg Publishing LLC. I am the flagship author, chief photographer, music reviewer, music critic, do everything guy here at God Bless the Keg Publishing LLC with a little help from my friends. And the friends are here today. So loyal and reliable. Actually, I just have to push a button and they show up, but I guess that's revealing too many details. But they are here for the holiday podcast, and we try to do these special holiday podcasts when we are able to do so. I did miss Mother's Day. I missed Mother's Day, but I think I missed it for a very good reason. So I actually went home to New Jersey and visited my mother for Mother's Day. So appreciate it. Prayers and thoughts for dear mom. She's not doing too swift. So listeners, please, I appreciate any thoughts for her. So at any rate, if you're a first-time tuner-inner, then welcome. If you're a long-time listener and subscriber, then welcome back. And we're just thrilled you're here to join us for this podcast episode. And we usually get our little orphan handy decoder pins out and all that yakety-smackety and do a little business. But out of the respect of the holiday, there's no business today. There's no business today. And, you know, somebody's selling you something 24/7. I can't do anything about those ads on the feed. Those are out of my control. But this podcast is on Paulie. It's on my dime. Yeah, right? Okay. Thank you, friends. And it is Memorial Day. I'm in Central Virginia here, and it's a little creepy out. It's a little gray and it spritzed a little bit, but now it's not raining and it's very humid and it's not a great day. But if you were having outdoor activities and such, it's a little rough out there, but maybe it'll clear up later on. But that's not the true meaning of the holiday, right? So I want to do this podcast and focus on what Memorial Day is really all about. And I had a very, very interesting time with two young fellas at my primary source of income. And we got talking about, in general conversation early in the morning, oh yeah, Monday's a holiday and we're off, and which is all well and good. And then we started talking about Memorial Day. And the one young fella, he works for me direct. The other young fellow works in the building where we work. And we got talking about Memorial Day and talking about the flag and things like that. And one thing led to another. One road led to another. And we had a very interesting discussion. And the one young fella, he's very engaging, quite intelligent. And he's a little too engaging sometimes. I feel like I need a nap after I talk to him. But he comes from a military family, so I was very, very impressed with all his knowledge about what Memorial Day is about. And he even knew that it was originally called Decorations Day, and it was originally a day where they went and decorated the graves of veterans, fallen veterans at the cemeteries. And he even knew that, which was very impressive. And then it changed and it morphed into not only a day of decorating the cemeteries and the veterans' graves, but also honoring all those fallen service persons who died and gave the ultimate sacrifice for this country. And he was very knowledgeable, and we talked about flying the flag, half staff till noon. And you put it up to the top of the staff, and then you raise it briskly and lower it slowly to half staff. He knew all that. And on the heels of my Wisdom of Pete the Bartender podcast, where I mentioned how Pete felt that we just didn't know history in this country anymore, and it's not a point of emphasis in education anymore for young persons, I was quite impressed with his amount of knowledge about the holiday. And the other young fellow, also a very intelligent young man, and we talked, and he asked a lot of questions about flags, and he had one good question, is he said, on Memorial Day, what do? I don't have a pole. I just have a staff. Do I put my flag at half staff on that little stand, that little staff I have coming out on the side of my house. And I was like, yeah, you can. That's kind of hard, but you can. And I meant to research this before the podcast, but I didn't have a chance. But myself, I remember back to the old neighborhood and our old house at 182 Belmont Avenue. And the old man always flew the flag, and he had a little holder, and he put it outside by the mailbox at the front stoop. And I remember on Memorial Day, he would put a little black ribbon around the staff of the flag until noon, and then he would remove that. And I don't know if that's an old man thing or that's something that is actually advocated for. I don't know. But I passed that little tidbit along to the young fellow, and he said that that would work for him. So I did get up early this morning at sunrise, and I put my little flag out here at the Writing Command Center. I hope they never say you can't fly a flag around here. And it's against the rules of the community, because they'd encounter a little battle with Paulie about that one. But I did put a little black ribbon on the staff. I don't obviously have a pole, but I do the best I can. And as encouraged as I was by the conversations I had with those young guys, I was discouraged by what I saw in the community here, because I was the only flag that I could see flying. And I checked the front stoop, and no, I didn't walk up and down every street and check every apartment complex here, sections. But from the front stoop, and then I went to the back stoop, that was the only flag flying. And that does make me sad. And just before I decided to lay down these tracks, I also checked. And as of that time, I'm still the only one flying a flag here on Memorial Day. So why record this podcast, Paulie? Because if I can reach just a few listeners who might not be aware of really what Memorial Day represents and what it's really about, then I feel that the time is more than worthwhile, because it is a day that is solemn. Yes, you can have your cookouts. You can go to the beach if the weather's good, or the lake. It's the unofficial kickoff to summer, all those things you do. You get a day off of work. You get to relax a little bit. Get away from the madness. And that's fine. I think if you just take a moment to appreciate what the holiday really represents, and to say a little prayer of thanksgiving, be thankful for those service persons who are willing to commit to the ultimate sacrifice for their belief in our great country. They didn't do it for politics or religions or race or whatever. They were just willing to die and sacrifice their lives for this country. And that's what Memorial Day is really about. And it's really about us remembering and being thankful for those sacrifices. And when I look up and down the street and I see only one flag flying, it does make me sad. But we can always hope for better things. And yes, there's a lot of arguing and finger pointing and politicians and all this stuff that's going on and all this horribleness. But that doesn't take away from what these service persons did and what service persons are always willing to do. Don't let politics get in the way of respect. And the other thing that made me sad, too, last night, listening to a baseball game, and the announcers there, and I'm sure nobody does this out of trying to be mean or whatever, or just be disrespectful, whatever word you want to use, but they say Happy Memorial Day, Happy Memorial Day weekend, Happy Memorial Day. You shouldn't really say Happy Memorial Day. That's my opinion. And when I encounter someone on Memorial Day, I just say, hey, it's Memorial Day. Don't forget to remember and be thankful. But it's a solemn holiday. It's a day that evolved out of decorating veterans' graves and putting decorations on there and thanking them for their service. It's a day of sacrifice, a day to honor courage. Not a day to say Happy Memorial Day, but that's just my own thoughts. And back in 2017, I wrote a short story, a flash fiction story for one of my collections. And the story it showed up in a couple different publications because I really enjoyed the story and I thought it was a meaningful story and a powerful story. And it was originally in a publication called the Military Collection. And I'm not really sure why that went out of print. I guess it was negligence on my part that I didn't attend to it properly or whatever. But I need to revisit that publication and put that back to the live status because I think it is a good little short story collection. And this story came out of that collection. And then I plucked it out of there and put it in one of the flash fiction books. I think I put it in Flash Fiction, Flashes, Sparks, and Shorts, Flash 1. But I always enjoyed this story because those that might have a military affiliation or gone through basic training or whatever your background might be, the drill instructor is an important figure, a legendary figure, right? A figure to yell at you, an individual to yell at you, scare you, and make you into a soldier, a Marine, a sailor, an airman, a Coast Guardman, a Space Force, whatever. They're mentors, teachers, and eventually you realize they're friends and they're a fellow service person. And their mission is to make you into what you need to be to serve the country. Maybe like your teachers in grammar school, the formative years. You go in there as a dopey little kid and not paying attention, and you like to color more than you'd like to do your math. But eventually you're turned into a student, and then you're mentored. And I think teachers and farmers and mechanics and all these dedicated folks that society doesn't promote as much as they should get lost in the way of how important they are in individuals' lives. And the drill instructor really is too. It's that first formative person you meet. I remember serving with a guy named Tommy. And Tommy, he was probably the best radio guy I ever worked with. One of the best. He was a great radio guy. And we were just radio guys. That's what we were. And Tommy was getting to the end of the road. He was getting to hang up his Morse code key in his cans. We were sitting talking one day in the Radio Shack. And Tommy says, Paulie, you know what I'm going to miss the most? I was like, I don't know, Tommy. What? And he said, the guys, the people around here, the people I serve with. You, Jimmy, Chief Donnelly, Gunny Carpenter, all these guys. And I'm going to miss that. I'm going to miss that camaraderie. I'm going to miss that fellowship, that friendship, the honor of serving with each other. We basically frauds. We're not doing anything important, but it's about the honor. And I'll miss that. And I hope 20 years down the road, I'll always remember the funny stories, and I'll remember serving with you and sending out messages and laughing and doing all the things we do. I won't miss the radios. I'm a ham radio guy, as we all were. Yeah, I can play with radios and antennas and wires and microphones anytime I want. We're radio guys. And here I am all these years later, still playing with radios and microphones with a pair of cans on my head. So I get what Tommy means now. And I think the drill instructor is one of those folks that are so important and maybe just overlooked. So back in 2017, I wrote this story, The Drill Instructor. And I'd like to read it and share it with you for Memorial Day, because I think it really represents how people feel when they serve. The drill instructor. Men's. I will tell you here and now that some of you standing right here and now will die. Yes, you will die. No sense in sugarcoating it, because guess what? Some of you will die. No, I am not God, so I can't tell you when or how some of you will die. But I know this to be true. In my 20 or so years of teaching and training patsies like all of you losers are here right now to become Marines, I have learned from my experiences that Marines die. Some of you might die in combat with a bullet clean through your head. A clean kill contains elements of honor when you are in battle. Others of you might tumble on your sorry butts and be run over by a truck and have all your guts pushed out of you. Others will succumb to some rare disease. But what you have to understand is that you will die in service to your beloved United States Marine Corps and to your country. To die as a warrior, as a United States Marine, is an honor. It is not as if you are dying. No, 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 men's. It is as if you are promoted to a higher mission. While he bellowed at the top of his voice, the drill instructor slowly walked back and forth in front of his new recruits. It was the first few hours of the critical first meeting, the first day of basic training. A scary experience, a scary individual. The drill instructor's highly polished shoes glistened in the sun. His uniform, despite the heat, remained crisp and fresh. If you looked closely at him, you could see hints of beads of sweat working their way down the sides of his temples. And despite the popular opinion of the multitudes, drill instructors actually are human. They do sweat. However, the drops of sweat contain salt, honor, and courage. The drill instructor stopped pacing, and with one arm and his hand outstretched to heaven, he dramatically pointed in the air to the American flag, gently waving on the pole high above his head. His previously bellowing voice softened and lowered. The drill instructor grew solemn. It almost seemed impossible for him to do so, but he did lower his booming voice as he explained, for that American flag to wave in the breeze above our heads, and for it to fly as freely as it does, unencumbered, proud, strong, it took a lot of blood and guts. Men's, the expectations of those who shed their blood and their guts is that there would be many to follow in their footsteps. And as I stand here, right here and now, I know you will not let them down, nor will you let your beloved United States Marine Corps down. You would not let your country down, and you will not let God down. I know in my heart that this is true, so help me God. The drill instructor turned, and he faced the front and center of the formation of the want-to-be Marines. He stood tall and proud in front of the nervous recruits. He tucked his arms at his side, and his face was stoic, yet proud. He lowered his head so that you could just see the top of his eyes, ominously peering out from under the edge of his drill instructor's hat. Once again, he spoke in a somber tone. Men's, be forewarned. I know in my heart that this is true. If I fail in my mission to make you Marines, if I fail that flag, if I fail my beloved United States Marine Corps, and I fail those who have shed their blood and guts, then I will gladly pay the price of having done so. The Drill Instructor from 2017, written by myself, Paul John Hausleben. And I think that little piece epitomizes the attitudes of service persons. Don't fail in the mission. And I think the meaning of Memorial Day is for us to remember that they did not fail in that mission and remember the sacrifice. So, yes, a short little podcast. I try to keep them short on the holidays. People are busy doing other things, but maybe, just maybe, this little podcast reaches the hearts of some folks and the minds and the ears, and they say, wow, this guy from New Jersey taught me a little bit something about a holiday I really didn't understand. And if that's my mission, I don't want to fail. And I am just a guy from Paterson, New Jersey, and we're really happy you joined us today. I hope you have a day of remembrance. I hope you have a peaceful day. I hope you remember during this holiday and reflect. And hey, coming up on some podcasts coming up here, we got the great cousin Jack. I've worked out the final details. We got Jeff, the musical wizard. But right for now, it's Memorial Day. And I thank you for tuning in. Hey, please be kind. Be very tolerant. Be very gentle. Remember, kindness is for free. Spread it around as much as you can. It can only make this world a better place. Bye-bye for now, and we'll see you next time.